Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I hate when I have to redo clips, yo, this is annoying. So I said I was going to start doing random, I'm going to start recapping, reviewing 16 and pregnant random episodes, but if you guys like these videos enough, I will start from the beginning and we'll do every single 16 and pregnant episode. I don't think I've reviewed all of those. I'm making my way back to the channel. I did post up a video the other day, but it didn't get much response, and I was like, you know what, let me just do something else. So right now I'm going to be reviewing and recapping season number 6, episode number 1, and this is going to be Maddie, and we're going to get right on into this review. All right, so Maddie is 16 years old. She lives in Tinley Park, Illinois. So Maddie goes on to say that she lives in a full house. She has a sister, she has a brother, and then she has a little baby sister who is her half sister, Alyssa, who's only a couple months old. So Maddie goes on to say that her parents are divorced. Her dad lives an hour away in Indiana. But although her dad lives an hour away, they're still super close. So Maddie says a few months ago she broke up with her she broke up with her boyfriend. She was really upset. So since she got upset, she got on Facebook. She hooked up with this dude, ended up pregnant with this one night stands baby, which is a freaking horror story. And this is how she ended up 16 and pregnant. All right, so we're here, and I believe she's 32 weeks pregnant here. And she says she knows that the baby's going to be a girl. She's naming her Aubry, and she's due in about 2 months. Okay, so y'all know how it is. It's always this way in all the 16 and pregnant episodes. You have a section where all the friends come, or they're sitting and eating, and they ask the same doggone question. And the question is always, how did you feel when you found out you were pregnant? Always, always, always. And it's always the same answer. I was scared. I was surprised, blah, blah, blah. Maddie's friends are coming over. They're going to talk. You already know what they're going to talk about. I just explained what they're talking about. And yada, 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 yakety smackety. So now we have this scene where Maddie's sitting here with her family talking about the baby, and have y'all gotten used to the fact that she's pregnant? Obviously not, girl. You're only 16. So anyway, now Cody is there, and the mom with the baby, Maddie's mom and Maddie, and they're all going to go look at the baby on ultrasound and all that. Maddie says she's happy that Cody seems like he's finally happy to be a dad. So now I guess after the appointment, Maddie and Cody are standing here talking to each other and talking about how they should have used condoms. Well, evidently, fools. Anyway, Maddie says she wants to have her baby raised with 2 parents, but it is yet to be determined how the relationship with her and Cody is going to go. Let's be honest here. You could tell from the beginning, for those of you that this is not your first time watching, you could tell from the beginning, right here, you can tell that she's really not feeling Cody like that. Well, the next scene, Maddie says that with her due date only a couple weeks away, her mom wants to sit down and talk about how the birth and everything else is going to go.
Maddie is sitting here still with her mom, and she's sitting here talking to her mom, and her mom actually says to her, I told you that, if you got pregnant at 16, you were going to be kicked out. So her mom tells her that I'm going to give you a month after the baby's born, and then you got to go. I will never understand parents that freaking do that. I really will never understand that. I mean, you got to run your household the way you want, but I know that this was a common thing for parents, like, kick your child out when they get pregnant type of thing, but how do you expect this 16, she's 16, how do you expect this 16-year-old little girl who doesn't have a job, okay, she just had a baby, to be able to have perfect credit, have her own apartment, and be able to have moving expenses within a month? So unrealistic and ridiculous, okay? So the mom tells her, look, you either got to move in with Cody, this dude you don't barely know, because y'all told y'all she got pregnant on a one-night stand, or her mom says to her, oh, you have to move in with your dad. And Maddie's over here like, I really don't want to live in either place. I really just want to live here. And the mom's making up all these excuses. Oh, it's crowded here. I am giving mom the side eye right here, because I will never understand how people just kick their kids out. And I don't even understand how, even as an adult, you could turn your back on your kid. You're always going to be your child's parent. Anyway, I'm giving her the side eye. We'll see how the rest of this episode goes. So Maddie calls Cody over and they discuss what her mom was telling her about her having to move out. Cody says that she can come and live with him. He'll have to talk to his parents about it. And Maddie's crying and she's upset because she's like, she doesn't know what's going on right now. And, you know, I'm not going to judge because, you know, we all do things that we regret in life. And so, you know, some of the things that you do in life you can't take back. And so you just have to deal with the things that happen in your life. So the next scene, Maddie says that even though she barely knows Cody, she is definitely considering moving in with him. She says she talked to her dad about it and he literally got in that car, drove an hour to meet up with her. So now she's here. His name is Brian, Maddie's father, and they're in this eatery and I guess they're going to have this discussion because I'm pretty sure Maddie's dad is not trying to hear that. Okay, so dad is sitting down and he says to Maddie, okay, so you're moving in with this boy you've only known 9 months. Basically, you don't know him because you've known him your entire pregnancy. So when you got pregnant, you barely knew the guy. And Maddie says, you know, we're not together like that, but I don't see any other choice. Dad says, well, you know, you're welcome to come live with us. Now, dad, as I just said, he lives about an hour away. And then Maddie's like, that's a major thing why she doesn't want to go live with her dad because they're going to be, you know, they're going to be a bit far if she moves in with her dad. I understand these girls want to try to be independent. And the main thread that I always hear on these shows from the girl is, but I want my child to have a dad in their life. And just because you live in the same town is no guarantee that guy, and I've seen it episode after episode, it's no guarantee that the dude is going to stay around for you. Not even as a teen. Even in your 20s and 30s, a guy can say, you know what, I don't want to deal with you. I'm not dealing with that baby. Goodbye. Dad is not feeling the situation, and Maddie's just making up excuses as to why, okay, she has to live with this guy she doesn't know, and she thinks for some reason that his mom, Cody's mom, just gonna babysit and stay home. And I mean, you're 16. You gotta understand these parents are still working full time. Well, do these kids realize that in your 30s you're still working full time? Anyway, basically, Maddie has her mind set. Her dad ain't trying to convince her otherwise. I mean, he doesn't like it, but Maddie says it's the best solution for her. So she narrates to us that, you know, she is risky, but she's going to take a chance anyway for the sake of her baby, who's Aubry. We're going to start keeping track of all these Aubrys because there's like 3 Aubrys on this season, okay? All these seasons, I think there might be more than one. No, there might be like 4 or 5 Aubrys actually, which is a pretty name. But anyway, so Cody's parents have come over that night to talk about the situation. And Cody's mom is A-okay with Maddie coming and living with them. She says she'll make the dining room her bedroom. And then we get into this discussion of, because her mom is there as well. Maddie's mom is there, Maddie's there, and then Cody's mom and dad is there. So Maddie's mom is actually asking Cody, like, do you want to be with my daughter? And Cody says, yes, I want to be with her, but I don't know if she wants to be with me. And Maddie's like, you know, I kind of want to get to know you. Girl, it's a little late for getting to know people after we had a baby with them, but okay. Maddie seems to think that it's going to be super duper easy to live with someone who you're not romantically involved with and be having their baby there as well. So she just thinks she knows it all. I guess we all thought we knew it all when we were that age, didn't we? I'm sure we did. To end off that scene, Maddie says even though she's moving in with Cody, she's not sure how she feels about him. Well, that says it all. This is going to be a train wreck, but I'm here for it, okay? I'm here for it, and so are you guys. So the next scene, Maddie's getting ready to go to school. I believe it's her junior year, and she's upset. She's crying to her mom, and she's letting her mom know, you know, I really don't want to go, and these chairs are going to be uncomfortable. But eventually, she does go to school. The chairs were very uncomfortable, like she said, and she hates it. So in the next scene, Aubrey's hanging with her softball homegirls, and she gets a phone call from Cody, and Cody's like, where are you? And she's like, I'm here with my homegirls. And Cody's like, well, maybe we should go on a date right now. And she's like, right now it's definitely not gonna happen, maybe some other time. And he's like, all right, and hung up the phone. So Maddie says to her friends that I'm 9 months pregnant and we've never been on a date, and she's moving in with them. And I don't know. She says that Cody has really stepped it up, but it's always different in the beginning before the baby comes. So we'll see after the baby comes how much he actually steps up. So Maddie goes on to say that she feels bad saying it, but she thinks that people think just because they have a baby together that they actually have to be together. So Maddie and Cody actually do go out on a date, and Cody is actually being really sweet, and it's really sad when you want somebody and they don't want you, because I can sense that she's not really feeling him. And he's like, so now that we're on a date, does that mean that we're closer to dating? And she's like, it's a start, but we're still not together. So Cody says, how do you think it's going to work, us living together but not being together? And Maddie says, I really don't know. I mean, she says she's not really concerned with the relationship part. And Maddie says to him, he shouldn't be either. And Cody says, well, I don't know. That's going to change my attitude towards a lot of things. And Maddie says, well, it shouldn't change. So Maddie says, no matter what the situation, it shouldn't change you wanting to do the best for your daughter. So Maddie says, we're not together, but we're both going to raise her. And then Cody says, well, she's going to have my last name, right? And Maddie's like, about that. Maddie, I'm sorry, but Maddie's asking for a lot. You want to live in this guy's house with his parents. They're going to make room for you. You don't want to be with him. And now you don't want the baby to have his last name neither? Good grief. Were we so delusional when we were teens? So Cody's like, why not? And Maddie's like, I really don't need a reason. Maddie, I think you better go live with your daddy, because I feel like, at first I was like, maybe it could work, but there's just too many negative factors in here involved that make me say this is a terrible, terrible idea. I was just thinking, Cody has this intention of having more with her as far as, a relationship goes. And Maddie's mind is nowhere near there. And if his intention for her to move over with him, for them to be closer romantically, he's going to be disappointed, and all of this is going to be a huge problem. So Cody's argument is basically, I'm going to be in my daughter's life, so she should have my last name. And I'm not going to say that I disagree. And Maddie's just like, just because we're not together. Maddie says we're not together right now. If we're still together later on, we could always change her name. So Maddie, girl, you're delusional. You need to just go move in with your daddy, okay? Because this is going to be a huge problem. So Cody says, this is making me mad. This is something that's very important to me. And Maddie's like, I'm not going to argue with you about this. Oh boy. So Cody says, I think that's disrespectful. And then Maddie says, well, why you want us to move in then if you feel that way? Maddie was going dress shopping, I guess, and she decided last minute she doesn't want to go to the dance. Cody called her, apologized for arguing on a date. What a first date. You're arguing first date. She says that he still wants the baby to have his last name, which honestly, I just really don't know how I feel about that. I can't even give an opinion on it, to be honest with you, because, whether the guy's a deadbeat or not, is his biological child. And like my kid, I wanted him to have his father's last name. So anyway, so she says Cody doesn't really want to stress her out, to be arguing and all that, so she's basically going over to meet him. So I almost said Aubry. I do that all the time, you guys know that. I be calling the moms by their kids' names. But anyway, so Maddie says that despite that little situation, he apologized. She's gone over to Cody's house to see how they're building Aubry's nursery. Well, to see the plans for building Aubry's nursery. So I gotta say, I'm really appreciative, even though this is a very old episode. I love the fact that Cody's parents are actually, they're stepping up and they're rearranging their whole house and spending a lot of money to get this house together for the baby and Maddie. And I hope in this episode, because I don't remember how this episode went. Maybe I saw it. I don't remember. It's been such a long time. But I really hope that Maddie appreciates what Cody's parents are doing in this situation for her and the baby. So now Maddie says that Aubry's room in their house is weirding her out. Well, what did you think? You know what? Anyway. So before Maddie could figure everything out, she went into labor and she's on the way to the hospital. She says she texted Cody on the way to the hospital and he met her there. She says she's confused about them and their situation, but she is glad that he came to the hospital. Okay, she's in labor, she's in pain, she's gonna die. She gets an epidural, she's fine, the baby's born. You see how quickly I do these recaps? I'm not playing with you guys. So Aubry's born, everybody's happy. So Cody stayed overnight with the baby and her in the hospital, but she said that the baby was crying and he was really just sleeping through it. He wasn't doing much. And she said things got worse when, in the hospital. I don't know if you don't have children, let me explain. When you're in the hospital and you have a baby, they literally come to you on one of those it's usually the second day after you had the baby, and they're like want you to fill out the birth certificate and stuff. And so Maddie says that things only got worse when it came to putting the baby's last name on the birth certificate. Maddie says that Cody pushed hard to get the baby to have his last name, but in the end, it was Maddie's decision, and Maddie chose to give the baby her last name instead. So now Cody's here in the hospital still with her, and Cody's saying it doesn't make any sense, and Maddie's saying, you're starting to frustrate me. Anyway, so they come home from the hospital, and now Cody's parents wanted to come and meet the baby. Then they're talking about how he kept falling asleep, how Cody kept falling asleep, blah, blah, blah. Then they get into this thing of, the mom is saying, Cody's mom is saying how they have to get the carpet and this and this and that, and how they going to fit 2 queen-size beds in one room. Girl, I don't know. I could fit 2 queen-size, because I just look behind me. I could fit 2 queen-size beds in my room. I don't know about them in their room and how big their rooms are, but yeah. Matt says, I don't want to feel like I'm being forced to be together. Maddie says that after that night that they spent in the hospital, she's starting to reconsider moving in with Cody. After the commercial break, Maddie's here and she's saying that Cody hasn't called her since they've been out of the hospital, and she's supposed to be moving in 2 weeks. And he has not only not called, he hasn't come over to help either. Maddie says doing it alone is hard, and now we're here. It's 3 weeks. The baby's 3 weeks old, and Maddie says it's 10 days until she's supposed to move, and Cody still hasn't shown interest or came to try to help her with the baby. Maddie with her friend Kathy, and they sit down and they're talking about Cody, and Maddie explains that Cody hasn't been around, hasn't been helping, and when they are around each other, they fight. And he makes up the excuse that he's working, but even when he's not working, he doesn't come and see the baby. Of course, he's exhausted. She's taking care of the baby all alone. Next day, Cody calls and says, how's the baby? And Maddie's like, oh, you want to call now? You have not been over here to see her but one time. And then he makes up these excuses of how he's working. And she's like, I really don't want to hear that. So now they're 4 weeks. The baby's 4 weeks old. And she says that she has to move in 5 days. So she decided to drive an hour to Indiana to go see her dad so that he can see the baby before she leaves. Her dad asks her, so you're getting ready to move. How are you feeling about that? And Maddie's like, she really doesn't want to go. She doesn't have any feelings for Cody. And then they're going to be living together, and it's going to be pretty awkward. So Maddie said, she's going to be sleeping in the same room with him, and she doesn't think it's going to work out at all. And so Dad says again, we have plenty of space here. There's a whole space downstairs. If y'all want to come, you can come. And Maddie says, you know what? I'd rather do that than go live with Cody and them. Girl, for the first time, you're making a good decision, because I would have been ran to my pop's house if he said, okay, you and the baby can come here, as opposed to living with a complete freaking stranger. So anyway, Dad is saying like, I hope his family realizes how much you appreciate what they did for him. And she says that she hopes that Cody understands or whatever, but all of that situation with her living with her dad would be a much better situation. All right, so now we're at Cody's house, and he told his mom, Maddie don't want to stay here. And they got the crib set up, everything set up. They spent all this money for her to go there, and the mom is like shaking her head like, But you know what? You have your freaking son to blame. If he was acting right, you know what I'm saying? Trying to be in the baby's life the way he acted like he was going to be in the beginning when she was pregnant, then Maddie might have felt more comfortable going over there. But because he's not doing what he needs to do, thankfully she woke the heck up and was like, you know what? It would be a better situation for me to go live with my dad. So mom is, she basically had me spend all this money, waste all this time. And for what? I really just don't know what to say, is what Cody's mom says. So then Cody's mom says to Cody, how are you going to see Aubry? The fool doesn't see the baby now. So, and he lives in the area. How you think he's suddenly going to care to want to see the baby when the baby's far? Doesn't really matter. So says that she knows that her decision hurt Cody and his family, but she has to do what's best for her. All right, back after the commercial break. Maddie says that it's been a week since she told Cody that she's not moving in with their family, and he's still angry and upset and refuses to speak to her. She feels bad, but now we're here with Maddie, and she says that, she's sorry that she didn't know she wanted to go to her dad's house before they built the room and spent all this money, but pretty much they're just gonna have to deal with it. So she's on the phone with her friend talking about it, and she says her dad's about to come and get her, and this is where we are. She's about to leave, and it doesn't really matter because Cody hasn't been calling at all about the baby anyway, so it's not gonna make much difference when she moves an hour away. So Maddie moves, and about a week later says she's settled in, but her dad's never there. She's pretty much doing this all alone like she knew she would be, but she was happy to see that Cody actually texted her or called her and said that he wanted to see the baby. So basically, Cody and I almost said Aubry. Cody and Maddie are talking, and they basically agreed that, you know, we're gonna have to raise this kid, so we're gonna have to figure something out. And he actually did drive all the way there, but this is only the second time he's seen Aubry in the 2 months that she's been alive, which is terrible. And I understand, you know, he works 2 jobs now, Cody said, and he's pretty far, but you could have threw in another visit somewhere. You get a day off somewhere. So, I mean, it's funny, people are like, I'm always working. I mean, and then you get at least 1 day off, or you're supposed to. Maddie actually said that at least she's mature in this way. She says that just because she has a baby with someone doesn't mean she has to be in a relationship with them necessarily. And she said that she just wasn't feeling it with Cody. And, you know, she says she's missing out on everything and everybody, like they always say at the end of the show. And pretty much this is how we were left hanging, okay? At the end, you know how it is. They're in their room and they're talking about how hard it is to be a teenager with a baby. I mean, they all say the same thing, so I pretty much don't even have to end off this review. Anyway, guys, that is the end of this episode, and it was a doozy, but I kind of could predict what was going to happen there. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching my channel. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you want me to do every single season of 16 and Pregnant starting from the beginning. Just ask and you shall receive, okay? I just did this random one. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for my channel. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.